Hello, everyone. Welcome back for the Week 5 review of the JMD and JTT leagues. The Week 5 of the NFL is in the books. The Colts are the number 1 seed in the AFC. All is good with the world, except for the fact that the injuries keep piling up in fantasy football. And I'm sure everybody is feeling that somewhere along the line. Some big performances this week, though, from a few surprise players, a few surprise players and some absolutely shocking performances from teams like the Arizona Cardinals. What a mess that was. Shall we? We're going to jump right in. We're going to start this week with I said I'd mix it up this week. We're going to start with the redraft leagues this week. I haven't updated, just a heads up, as at the point of recording, I haven't updated the cup scores yet. So if you're wondering why that hasn't moved, it's because I haven't done it yet. I will. I'm recording Wednesday late morning, so hopefully by the end of today, I will have them updated. Just need to find another half an hour. I've managed to squeeze this in between meetings for work. What I thought we'd do today is 10-team leagues. So we're 5 weeks in now. Top 6 make the playoffs. Obviously, top two go into get a bye in week 15. Which kind of means you need 7 wins to make sure, really. 6 wins, probably enough to get you in. So I thought we'd focus on the teams who are 1 and 4. So if we go into Division A first off, Broken, Beaten and Scarred moved to 4 and 1, beat Team DS Liddy 92, 1 and 4. So Team DS Liddy struggling at 1 and 4. This week, only 129 points scored. Good lineup. Drake May is doing a lot. That's not a massive score from Drake May, but he is. In fact, is that right? Yeah, Drake May. Drake May did have he's looked like a good player, but he hasn't scored a lot in fantasy. Brees Hall, J.K. Dobbins, Darius Slayton, he was disappointing. Brian Thomas continues to be disappointing. Hunter Henry, again, a little bit disappointing. Big week from Rico Dowdle. Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs continues to put up solid numbers. Baker Mayfield on his bench could have made a bit of a difference. Swift on bye, Metcalf on bye, Stephon Diggs and Michael Carr on the bench could have made some points there left on the bench for DS Liddy. So hopefully he's got enough to turn that around and turn that 1 and 4 into something a bit more positive. Big week ahead. Also at 1 and 4 in this division, Rookie Ravens, catch me if you can. Only 116 points scored this week, lost by roughly 35 points. Good start at quarterback, Matt Stafford, 31 points. Scatterboom Kamara. Kamara's not really doing it this year, is he? Garrett Wilson continues to put up garbage time points. Jameson Williams, another one who's not really doing it. Kamara and Wilson might need to move on there. McBride, tight end, has been a little bit disappointing. I'm sticking by McBride. Jennings not playing didn't help. Myers, again, with Bowers out, I thought Myers would have. I put him in a few lineups, thought he would have a big week. New Orleans defense, so 21 points from defense and a good score from Matt Stafford at quarterback, but not enough. But then when you look further down, obviously Josh Downs, Calvin Ridley would have made a difference. Bijan and DJ Moore being on bye hasn't helped. So some work to do there for Rookie Raven and catch me if you can to turn that around. And the other 1 and 4 team in this division, Evdokios, 129.94, just less than a point and a half against Brown Bear Rick, Heart of the Griddy, who goes to 4 and 1. Could he have done anything different? Herbert, Hampton obviously going out wasn't. Hampton and Jency going into the weekend would have looked like a powerful start into. Herbert's dropped off a bit over the last few weeks, but Hampton going out injured probably helps Herbert's value moving forward, but didn't help him this weekend. Pickens only 13, including a touchdown, two catches and a touchdown, but not the numbers that he has put up over the last couple of weeks. Egbuka continues to be brilliant with a big week. Fannin had a good week in the UK game. Woody Marks was one of the most disappointing performances of the week, probably the most disappointing based on what he'd done last week. And Travion Henderson continues to not get the work that I think we all think he should do. So decent score from kicker and D. Dak Prescott at quarterback would have been the move that would have got in the win. Missing 3 players on bye or injury there, 4 players on bye or injury there. So only T. Higgins actually could have come in and made a difference. Would have done over Henderson and Marks could have made all the difference for Evdokia. So there's stuff to do there. Got a few buys out of the way. We'll have a little bit of hope at 1 and 4. So this division elsewhere, I should touch on my pay. I won to go to 3 and 2. Ram Raiders moved to 3 and 2 as well. Providence Steamroller of Mezzanine moves to 4 and 1. Final boss is 2 and 3. And the other 3 we've talked about. So we've got 3 teams at 4 and 1. And then the 2 teams that faced each other this week, Ram Raider and Iceberg Penguins at 3 and 2, couple at 2 and 3, and then 3 teams at 1 and 4. So still plenty of time to turn that around, but at 1 and 4 is where you've got to start worrying a little bit, I think. Moving on to Division B. Hang on a minute. Where am I going? Here we go. Moving on to Division B, the 1 and 4 teams in this division. Garmo's clue is in the handle. Over 30-point defeat this week. He sits at 1 and 4. When it's 30 points, there's probably not a lot you can do about it. Mahomes is putting up a good year. Charbonnet is in and out, needs that touchdown. He's not getting the work with Walker there, so he needs a touchdown. James Cook was disappointing this week. McMillan's plodding along. I fancy him to have a bit of an uptick. Agamana is very hit and miss. Again, needs that touchdown, and we've already talked about Trey McBride. Big week for Jamar Chase, RJ Harvey. Flattering to deceive, not really getting the work he wanted. This is another team with players on bye, missing McLaurin out injured, Irving out injured, Roma Dunze and Tucker Craft both on bye. So Josh could have played Josh Downs, wouldn't have made much of a difference. So hopefully gets those players back from injury and from the byes this week and can have another go. And Garmo's the only team at 1 and 4. So my Penguins lost to Kittle Mix PPR who moved to 4 and 1 and will be top of the division with the only team at 4 and 1. Staley Clock Crews, we've already discussed, beat Clues in the handle to go to 2 and 3 and get off that solo win. Connor French's Bodybag Ben lost to surviving Bodybag Ben and Ian. Both of those teams moved to 3 and 2. The JTT Cup commish lost, so he stays at 3, wins at 3 and 2, and the team Scottish Patriot gets their second win and with the biggest score of the week, 180 points. Just quickly, let's have a look at where they got 180 points from. Matt Stafford on Thursday night. Matt Stafford's never really been a fantasy relevant quarterback. We're starting to make it into teams, but Matt Stafford and Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua on Sunday night. That is Thursday night. Sorry, that is a massive start of over 85 points. If you start there, you're probably not going to lose. So Henderson, bit disappointing. So was Keenan Allen. Tyler Warren continues to put solid numbers up. Rashad White was a good pick, and Jake Ferguson is doing the job as a flex option, not even at tight end. So yeah, a big week for Scottish Patriot, which obviously started on that Thursday night game with the Rams. They got to 2 and 3, and then we got 2 other teams at 2 and 3. Drubert beat Team Hallam. So we've got 1 team at 4 and 1, and then we got 4 at 3 and 2, and another 4 at 2 and 3, and just Clue is in the handles. Garmo's team at 1 and 4. So all to play for in Division B with those 8 teams either at 3 and 2 or 2 and 3. In Division C, we have just the 1 team in this division at 1 and 4 as well. Canal Wolves, Mackin 49. Big defeat this week, 50 odd points, only scored 110. Jaden Daniels, I think we can all admit, would all agree, is still a good option at quarterback. Gibbs and Williams, good solid wide receiver pairing. Slayton, Allen, Godwin, probably not the 3 starting wide receivers you want. Charbonnet, we've already talked about, a bit disappointing. Zacker's very disappointing with the 000s. Prater's a decent enough kicker, and the Philadelphia Eagles would have expected a little bit more. That 4th quarter killed the Eagles. With Bucky out injured and Swift, DJ, and McLaurin out injured, and Swift, DJ Moore on bye. That left him a little bit short. Kareem Hunt could have made a difference. Hawkinson definitely would have made a difference at tight end. So there's a little bit to work with there, but possibly needs to start dealing if they want to get off the bottom of the table. Elsewhere, MKC Papa moves to 4 and 1 with a 6-point victory over Team Ginger Mambo, who are 2 and 3. Jack Donnelly got the win in the game we've already talked about. Grovesy and Baby Broncos both at 2 and 3. So the other team at 4 and 1 is the Gumby Beard. And then we've got Stop the Boats at 3 and 2. And Jamie G10 and Dingaling, Jamie G10 winning that one by 20 odd points to make both of those teams 2 and 3. So we've got 2 teams at 4 and 1, 2 teams at 3 and 2, and then 5 at 2 and 3 with just the one team at 1 and 3. So at 1 and 4, sorry. So 1 and 4 sounds bad. 1 win gets you right back up there, and you're in the mix. So still very early days in terms of the league table, especially in this 10-team format where 6 teams can make the playoffs. It allows for a little bit more of a late run. In Division D, we only have 1 team at 1 and 4 as well. Bronco Boys scored 152 points this week, so probably a little bit disappointed to lose to Team Jack Donnelly. Was a big 22-point difference, and probably not much they could have done. Justin Herbert a bit disappointed. Derek Henry continues to disappoint, less than 10 points again. Jonathan Taylor and Puka Nakua are a solid, very solid, possibly running back 1 and wide receiver 1 as the season goes on. So he's definitely got a base there. Not too much to worry about. Cortland Sutton on 17. Kincaid's proving to be a very viable tight end option for the Bills. 6 receptions on 108 yards. Judkins, I was at the game on Sunday, looks good, looks very lively. So just a case of whether he's going to score enough touchdowns or because you see took him 23 carries and a reception to get to 13 or just short of 14 points. He needs the touchdowns if he's going to be a really, really good option for them. Troy Franklin in and out, and Bates in the Denver D. Not much on the bench that he could have done with. Few too many Broncos in there. That's 6 Broncos. I know that's your team, Bronco Boy, but Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, the defense, Bo Nix, Marvin Mims, and Evan Ingram might be where you're going wrong. Who am I to say? That might be where you're going wrong. Elsewhere, Bear Down LCFC moves to 3 and 2 with a big win over Jimmy Nugent is 2 and 3. Scottish Patriot moves to 3 and 2, so that's the second time we mentioned Scottish Patriot, so another win for them. 3 and 2. Team Big Bods falls to 2 and 3. Bronco Boy, we talked about Jack Donnelly getting another win, moves into 4 and 1. Field of Dreams 3 and 2, lost to SGAF 2 and 3, and then Long Pink Snapper won comfortably after a shocking week from Evdokios, only 91 points, falls to 2 and 3. So another division where everything's split. 1 team at 4 and 1, 1 team at 1 and 4, and the rest in the middle, either on 2 or 3 wins, with everything to play for. In Division E, it's a little bit of a surprise to me that we haven't got anybody at 5 now. But in this division, we do have 2 teams at 1 and 4. So James 87, big defeat to Ramalama Ding Dong. Only 111 points scored this week. Mahomes is come back to fantasy relevance, I think. Derek Henry and Kamara, we've talked about, maybe their time is done as big fantasy stars. Jefferson put up a good week. I don't think Jefferson's going to have mega weeks with this quarterback. Whichever quarterback it is, whether it's Wentz or McCarthy when he comes back, but he's still capable of putting up. He's still going to be the target hog in that offense. He's still going to put up really good numbers. Godwin's been disappointing. That was a big week for Kelsey. Hollywood Brown. I mean, this is where teams are going wrong. Hollywood Brown, Pacheco, and Butker, and then the Chiefs lost, and most of the scoring was done by people like Kareem Hunt. But if you're going to put 5 Chiefs in your starting lineup, you are going to limit the amount of points you can score unless they go out and stick 40 on the Jags. And the Ravens adding -2 probably hasn't helped. So disappointing week for James 87. And then also Buck Goose, step the goalies Buck Goose, only 114 scored. Again, another big defeat that they couldn't really have done much about. Josh Allen, 24 points. Barkley's been okay without being, Barkley's been good, should we say, without being outstanding this year. Judkins, as we've already talked about, 13 points. A down week for Quentin Johnston. Cooper Kupp, not quite hitting the levels that he was once upon a sign at the Rams. Hockenson okay for a tight end. Cam Scatterbo keeps putting up decent numbers. T. Higgins with a better week this week, 11. Schrader only 2 points as he went out injured, and the Eagles are only getting 2 points from the defense. Calvin Ridley on the bench at 18 would have made a difference, but Jonnu Smith, DJ Moore, and Caleb Johnson all on bye won't have helped. So a big win for Hurts to do this. So yeah, for Jake LP goes to 3-2. Finding Nico moves to 2-3 with a win over Galzinho. Renegade Masters was on the wrong end of a 3-2 battle, so 3-1 battle. So he moves to 3-2. Random Task moves to 4-1, and I moved to 4-1 with a 11-point win over Team Drift Edge, who scores 155, and will be disappointed to lose that. Could he have done anything different? Joe Q 18 points at tight end. Yeah, would have done it. So the table, we've got 2 at 4-1, 3 at 3-2, 3 at 2-3, and 2 at 1-4. Very well spread out in Division E. Last but not least, in the redrafts, and a lot earlier than usual, Division F. Right, we have 2 teams at 1-4. So we've gone through all 6 divisions. We've got no one at 5-0, and we've got no one at 0-5. So that's positive. It's competitive. This will be a problem for Long's Pink Snapper. 78 points is the lowest I think we've seen all year. Geno Smith at quarterback. That's disappointing. Needs to do something about that. He's not doing it this year. Barkley, underwhelming, but still good numbers. Derrick Henry, we've already talked about. We have Quentin Johnston. Keenan Allen was a down week for Keenan Allen, only 10 points. Mark Andrews at tight end is going to be hit and miss. So that's a gamble you run. Pacheco playing second fiddle to Kareem Hunt at least this weekend, and DiMarcado playing second fiddle to Michael Carter again, at least this weekend. Although with that lost fumble, I can't imagine him taking over much. Jake Bates was one that H pointed out on our podcast last week as a kicker to watch, and I did make the point at the time that he might just be kicking extra points, and that was the case. The Bengals go on to win that one 37-24, and Jake Bates just has 5 extra points, no field goals, and the Eagles are a little bit disappointed defensively. 4 players on bye, 1 player injured, so there's only T. Higgins there that could have made a difference. Never really stood a chance this week. Potentially some trading or waiver wire work to do for Long Picking Snapper. Bear Down LCFC moved to 2 and 3 in that division. My Wall Street Penguins got absolutely smashed by MetLife Crisis. I am having issues with this team. Prescott put up a good week. Scatterbo, okay. Woody Marks disappointed. Garrett Wilson continues to score those garbage points we talked about. Worthy okay. McBride okay. Walker and Henderson just disappointing. And the Rams defense. Rams defense was a bit disappointing. I had Warren, Burden. I've got Lamb out injured. Could have brought Hollywood Brown in. Oh, yes. Work to be done there. Throw some trade offers at me if you're in Division F, because that needs fixing. Can see there that some money has been spent on mainly on Brown Bag Brick, but on waivers, which I've only just run. So that was redraft. As said, in terms of the cup, I will update the scores, so that'll bring us to the halfway point of the group stage. So I'll update the scores as soon as I can, and then going the wrong way, and then yeah, you should be able to see that. If it's not by the end of today, it'll definitely be the time week 6 kicks off tomorrow night. So if you are keeping an eye on that and want to know how you've done in the cup, make sure to check that either later on Wednesday or on Thursday night. Let's get into Dynasty. We had some close matches in Dynasty this week. Obviously, 8-team Superflex makes it a little bit different scoring. So in the Brady division, and we do have in comparison to redraft, we do have a few teams that are either 0-5 or 5-0. So we're going to look at those this week. So Evdokios fell to 0-5, 116 points scored against Yeovil Town's 155. Herbert, a quarterback. Henry and Genty didn't put up great scores. Godwin, Worthy, Pittman did okay. Hunter Henry, Brian Thomas. It's just underwhelming the Seahawks defense giving up, giving 3 points back. Matt Stafford and Herbert was not a bad starting quarterback. Everything else in between, it's a little bit disappointing. Potentially could have played Sam Laporta, but not a lot of difference going on there. So Yeovil Town 49ers moved to 2-3. So that was a big win for them to get to 2-3. H of the JMD pod is at 4-1 after the win over Team Wild Guns, who scored 179 points and are unlucky not to get to 5-0 this week with that sort of score. So those two sit at the top on 4-1. 5-yard rush Murph putting up a good week, 178 to move to 3 wins. Renisha Speed falls to 4-1. Owner of Brady was unlucky to lose this week to Never Dull in Hull, who I think that's maybe the 3rd win on the trot for Never Dull in Hull. Doesn't tell you on this format. Great. Tells you on the app. Why is their app so much better than the desktop version? So yeah, Wild Guns just ahead of HJMD pod by the 13 points scored, despite them both being at 4-1. And then you've got 3 teams at 3-2. Yeovil Town 49ers at 2-3, and Renisha Speed on the outside at 1-4. Evdokios already 3 wins outside of the playoff places, and with only 682 points scored, so we'll be struggling to make the playoffs. Really needs to put together a few wins on the trot. We're getting to that point in if you're 0-5. Season goes quick, doesn't it? Elway division. In Elway, we don't have anyone that's 5-0. We don't even have anyone that's 4-1, and we don't have anyone who's 0-5, and we don't have anyone who's 1-4. What a division this is. Pretty tight. And not only is it pretty tight in terms of overall performances, but look at that. Team to kick off the week, Team Pestle by 0.9 beats Team DS Liddy to move to 3-2 and send Team DS Liddy to 2-3. Jaden Daniels was completely outscored by Mahomes. Kamara was outscored by Achan, but Jonathan Taylor, Jonathan Taylor, I think a lot of people would have put Jonathan Taylor down to have a bigger week than James Cook, but not by 26 points. So that was a big win there at running back. McConkey had a better week this week, scoring a touchdown. Amon Ra didn't score a touchdown on the flip side of that. T. Higgins, decent week. Decent week for what his season has been. McMillan, as we've already talked about, getting better. Had Sam Laporta at tight end, so some good scoring. Quinton Johnson a little bit disappointing. Keenan Allen also disappointing, as the Chargers were, and then Elliott and the Chargers D. So he's really leaning in. That's 4 charges for Pestle, but he got the job done. 144 points was enough to get that 3rd win of the season. The biggest score this week was heads of the table. The second biggest score was their opponent, Team Dr. Dre, 2-1. So unlucky to Dr. Dre there, who falls to 3-2, heads of the table. Also 3-2. Another close one, only 5 points in it. Chen Burns beats 89 Monday, 178 to 173. And then at the bottom there, we've got Team Suarez Power beating the JTT Commish by 7 points. So all pretty close in the Elway division. And as I said, we've got 8 teams who are split by 1 win from top to bottom. So Suarez Power in 8th place can look up at the table and think that there is still plenty to play for. And that could all change very, very quickly in a very tight division. In the Manning division, I thought I'd pulled the top score with 191 points this week, but was beaten by Team Scuba Lee. What a week that was, 201. So Big Bods put up the 3rd highest score of the week with 184 and was beaten by Team Scuba Lee, 201 points. The one of 2 200-point scores this week in the Dynasty League. Stafford 25, Javonte Williams and Christian McCaffrey, brilliant, probably the best running back 2-pack we've seen. this week so far. So yeah, Stafford and them two, that's the best part of 80 points between those three. Amon-Ra, not as big a week, but Smith and Jigbo was back to where he was. And again, Quinton Johnson having a down week, but Sam Laporta putting up 5 for 92 and a touchdown. Achan, Justin Fields, and then only 6 from Kicker and D, so it could have been much bigger. That's a tough team to deal with there for Scuba Lee, so 3-2. So looking good. Yeah, my Penguins put up 191. That's a 3-game winning streak since I traded away Jonathan Taylor. I don't even know. That's fantasy football for you. Lost 2 with Taylor. I won 3 since I've traded him away. Matty Leo, unlucky, 159 is a good week, but not enough to handle the Penguins. Big Pods, we've already talked about. Mungry Pablo, disappointing week for Mungry Pablo, our reigning champion, falls to 2 and 3. Beaten by 50 points by PM Big Man's PM Big Man's paid yes. And Gridiron in the UK moves to 4-1 to lead the division with an 18-point win over the Lats Wolves, who are 2 and 3. So as I said, we've got one team at 4-1 and one team at 1 and 4, with everybody else on 2 and 3 in the middle. In the Merino League, we have a 5-0 team. Ian Harrison of the JMD podcast put up 187 points this week, and his Manchester Infernos are 5-0, 187 plus 132. So congrats to Ian, who remains unbeaten. I think might be the only unbeaten team. Might need to double check that when we go on to the last one, but I will apologise to anybody else who's unbeaten. But we're going to look at Team Drift Edge, who needed a win going into this 1 and 3. Come out of it 2 and 3, having scored 201 points. And 201 points with Kyler Murray at quarterback. So well done to you, because Kyler Murray's not doing it either. 15 points. Brees Hall and Rico Dowdle, best part of 50 from that running back pairing. Booker and Waddle are really good, and Pittman's a really good 3-pack for the wide receivers. And then Sam Laporta, who's appearing in quite a lot of winning teams this week. Jacoby Myers is disappointing. Trevor Lawrence has put up a good score on Monday night. Hopefully that was his breakout game, because I want to see him do a bit more, and 12 points from Kicker and D. So a big week for Team Drift Edge, who, by the looks of the bench, I could have played Addison instead of Myers, but didn't have a hell of a lot. So some good selections there from Drift Edge. Gets 2-3. Rookie Ravens falls to 2 and 3. The reigning Super Bowl champion Dynasty Cowboys moved to 2 and 3. Needed a win from 1 and 3. So well done to Mezzanine. The boys at 2 and 3. Hi Diddly Ho, Neighborino. On the other end of the Manchester Infernos, 187, so they fall to 2 and 3. And then Surviving Taysom Hill put up 191, so 3 really big scores in this division this week. MKC Papa falls to 1 and 4. So we've got this division's the only one that looks a little bit different. Everything else seems to be 2 and 3 mainly. Manchester Infernos with the most points scored and obviously the most wins, 5-0. Surviving Taysom Hill there at 4-1, 2 games ahead of Dynasty Cowboys. Have we got 5 teams there at 2 and 3 before MKC Papa at 1 and 4. But again, 1 and 4, but only 1 win off 3rd and 4th place. So plenty of hope there going into the next couple of weeks, but won't want to fall to 1 and 5. In the final division, the Montana division, our newest Dynasty division, we have JJB Good at 4-1. But yeah, no. So Ian is the only team at 5-0. So well done to Ian. Team Jordan Dixon lost to Team Craig. Big loss that 2 and 3. Like I said, best part of 60 points. Team Craig gets to 2 and 3. So a big win for them. The biggest score in the division, though, was the Blair Walsh Project to get to 3 and 2 with a win over Corgis United, who fall to 2 and 3. So 182 points scored. So the last one we'll look at. Jaden Daniels back from injury. I had him on a couple of teams, a bit disappointing. But I think he'll get better as the weeks go on. McCaffrey and Williams was a great 2-1 double to start with at running back. on Thursday night. And if you've got Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams to add to that, bit Rams heavy, but the points they're putting up, that works. So some really good scoring there. Further down, Hunter Renfrow was disappointing. Brock Bowers didn't play, so obviously I don't know whether he's obviously missed an opportunity there. But Rashad White, CJ Stroud with one of the better weeks he's had in a long time, and Chase McLaughlin was a good kicker as well. Eagles a bit disappointing. Yeah, Kittle injured, Bowers injured, and Pitt's on a bye. That's tough sledding. But to come out of it with a win, 182 points, that's a good performance from the Blair Walsh Project. So the division looks like this. JJB Good gets his 4th win to go to 4-1, 868 points scored, which is easily the highest in the division. Blair Walsh Project is the only other team over 800 points. They're at 3-2. Ryan Judge, London Trim Rangers, also at 3-2. Craigie Craig, Jordan Dixon, and Corgis United at 2-3. And then Fiona is at the bottom on 1-4, but plenty of time to turn that around. So that was the league update. The only other thing from a dynasty point of view to mention is obviously Wild Guns lost to JMD Pod in the Brady division, but with 179 points was the top scorer in our Charity Shield final. So Team Wild Guns wins the Charity Shield for 2025. Congratulations to them. So the tickets to the Rams Jags games next week are on the way, which looks starting to look like the best of the 3 UK games. So congratulations, Team Wild Gun. I'll be in touch with you. In fact, I've already been in touch with you to make sure we can get those tickets over to you. Thanks to everyone for getting involved and showing some support to that. We will have, this week, we'll provide the seedings for the start of the next cup competition. So next up, we have the Divisional Cup, where there'll be a £50 voucher up for grabs. So that starts off in division. You will have a quarterfinal, semi-final, and final in division. And then we have a 5-team final to decide the winner in the final week. So I will be sending all of the details around next week. So that starts in week 7, so look out for that. Finally, if I just go back to there. Hi. Finally, it was a big week in the Survivor. So in terms of losing people. So we started with 41. We are now 31 strong. And of those 31, who did we lose this week? We lost Pestle, Rookie Raven, Long Pink Snapper of Dokios, and the Boy this week. 3 of those went for the 49ers. 1 went for the Chiefs, and the Boy went for the Cardinals. That's got to be upsetting. The 2 losses for the Boy came with the Packers losing to the Browns in week 3 and the Cardinals losing to the Titans in week 5. So you've got to be disappointed to be out of that. Further up, we only have, so like I said, we've got 31 alive going into week 6. Of those 31, only 12 have both lives remaining. Most of those went for the Lions to beat the Bengals this week, although Ram Raider went for the Colts. The teams who lost a life this week, Jimmy Nugent had the Rams to win, Brown Bear Rick had the Dolphins to win, Garmo had the Eagles to win, Random Task had the Cardinals, Razamundo had the Cardinals, and then Chen Burns, Craigie Craig, and Wild Guns all had the Rams, as did Jake LP. We've talked about those. So SGA 84 had the Cardinals, and Mezzanine had the Bills. So that's where people have gone wrong this week. So we're down to 31. So if you're still in that, congratulations, well done. If you're one of the few that still have both your lives, well done. That's it from me this week. I know I mentioned we would try and get a couple of you on to talk about your teams as the season goes on. I'm still looking to do that. I know a few people have been in touch with me about potentially doing that, so thanks for that. And like I say, we will try and work that out. I literally just had to do this week's in between meetings because I'm having a shocker of a week of work. But next week we'll free up a little bit more time and hopefully we can plan it a little bit more in advance. As always, any feedback and on the updates, anything you'd like to see a little bit more of, anything you'd like to see a little bit less of, always welcome. And as always, thanks for getting involved, and check out our other activity.